Hello. Welcome, welcome. So it was great going to retreat, and it was great coming back from retreat. And in getting ready for tonight, as always, there is this coming to terms with, I guess you'd call it, that I really have the same thing to say that I've basically been saying for 10 years. And how am I going to say it? And, at retreat, I just didn't get the glamorous track, there's people painting the divine human being, and there's, people doing internal qigong and, glamorous, fancy ways and all kinds of incredible beauty. Poets, we have one among us, we have many among us. And I am basically, I think, here to say there's no division. It can't exist. It doesn't exist. It's not a thing. There is no division. Realize one's true nature. Basic, not in the sense of the way we might think of that, but fundamental, essential, basic naturalness, and stop conceptualizing for 1 second and overlaying reality with conception and see what happens. So to spice it up, I thought what came to me was maybe to read a couple of Pablo Neruda poems that seem to go together for me and that say beautifully what maybe this life has come down to. Too many names, Pablo Neruda. Mondays are meshed with Tuesdays, and the week with the whole year. Time cannot be cut with your weary scissors, and all the names of the day are washed out by the waters of night. No one can claim the name of Pedro. Nobody is Rosa or Marie. All of us are dust or sand, rain under rain. They have spoken to me of Venezuelas, of Chiles, and of Paraguays. I have no idea what they're saying. I know only the skin of the earth, and I know it is without a name. When I lived amongst the roots, they pleased me more than flowers did. And when I spoke to a stone, it rang like a bell. It is so long, the spring, which goes on all winter. Time lost its shoes. A year is 4 centuries. When I sleep every night, what am I called or not called? And when I wake, who am I if I was not while I slept? This means to say that scarcely have we landed into life than we come as if newborn. Let us not fill our mouths with so many faltering names, with so many sad formalities, with so many pompous letters, with so much of yours and mine. I have a mind to confuse things, unite them, bring them to birth, mix them up, undress them, until the light of the world has the oneness of the ocean, a generous, vast wholeness, a crepitant fragrance. confuse things, unite them, bring them to birth, mix them up, undress them. See what's really there. Now, we will count to 12 and we will all keep quiet. For once, on the face of the earth, let's not speak in any language. Let's stop for 1 second. Stop. And not move our arms so much. It would be an exotic moment without rush, without engines. We would all be together in a sudden strangeness. Fishermen in the cold sea would not harm whales, and the man gathering salt would look at his hurt hands. Those who prepare green wars, wars with gas, wars with fire, victories with no survivors, would put on clean clothes and walk about with their family of humans in the shade, doing nothing. What I want should not be confused with total inactivity. Life is what it is about. I want no truck with death. If we were not so single-minded about keeping our lives moving and for once could do nothing, perhaps a huge silence might interrupt this sadness of never understanding ourselves and of threatening ourselves with death. Perhaps the earth can teach us, as when everything seems dead and later proves to be alive. Now, I'll count to 12. And you keep still, and I will go. We have a lot to say about pretty much everything. But that which is already, always, radiantly present, aware, natural presence. We can't generate it, manufacture it, achieve it, own it, disown it, have it. We can't have it. We are that. If we become aware of all of the stuff of the senses. And if all of the stuff of the senses is removed, we're aware that it's no longer there. But the basic presence is. And it's so fast. It's so conditioned. It's so habitual to refer to conception and description and narration and I in relationship to. It's so fast. I mean, the sensory perception is just a purity, really. It's a purity of wholeness that arises, the whole of totality, the whole of totality arises and returns as itself, oneness, wholeness, totality. We divide it necessarily as a usefulness. So this is the classic example. So we can talk about a tree. We call it a tree. The leaves, the stems, the trunk, the bark, the inner from the bark, the roots, but none of this is separate from earth, sky, sun, you, me. I don't think any of us, when we get on this path, really understand. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's me. Maybe it was here. The lack of understanding of the complete surrender of separateness, isolatedness, unworthy, unlovableness, a complete surrender. The realization of one's fundamental, radiant, no thingness. And the realization of totality, wholeness, existence, meaning all of existence, all of it. Sets our lives on a really different course, because we can never really truly be convinced again of separateness, meanness. The life then becomes an instrument of conscious expression as best we can in a very imperfect, fallible human format. What people are calling embodiment. Conscious expression of love and wisdom, everything and nothing. It's a lot to take in. The life has phases, right, of adjustments in the unfolding. So it's always all of the reminders of everybody. We all find the same thing, as Sharon always says. We all find the same thing. Everybody's always found the same thing. But then the reminders of humbleness, willingness, sincerity really come in to play, because lest we start thinking that we are somehow we've seen it all, we've completed the journey of enlightenment. As if eternity has an end and infinity is finite. But that linear thing, right? That conceptual linear habit is powerful. It's attractive, it's magnetic, it's habituated through and conditioned through a consciousness. and useful, but not fundamental. I mean, so many sacred conceptions must go. Cause and effect, personal choice, all the fine print. We are all exactly, perfectly what we seek, what we yearn for is looking through our eyes right now as the fundamental, radiant, inexpressible, unspeakable presence. And this becomes the view. And this is why we practice, because it's much easier to practice in times of relative, I don't know, calmness or something, you might say, relative okayness. So that when the relative chaos, upending is within experience, the well-beingness that actually is, the peacefulness that is, shines forth. It has an avenue, an instrument, a channel. There's space and emptiness and restfulness. I mean, the life is the life, sorrows, joys, concerns, days of non-concern, all the stuff, all the fullness of being. But the experience as basic, present, radiant continuation is a different experience than the experience of me. Resting in vivid awareness, as vivid awareness is a better way of saying it. Not in a transcended, what's that word that people use? I don't know, transcended out sort of way. It's not like that at all. The experience is not like that. There can be that phase of up and out, and the real is the, and like physical, what we would call existence, reality, that part of reality can look ephemeral at best. But that is not to have realized the 10,000 things. That all is nothing and nothing is all. So there can be all kinds of ways and means, and the all paths lead within, and the best informer, you might say, of the next obvious thing is within each person's awareness. And yet, throughout all of time space, it has been encouraged to follow the teachings, the teachers, and the community, the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, the three jewels. So there's a lot of cul-de-sacs. There's a lot of each level of consciousness has its own particular seductions. And yet, the basic instruction, if you could call it that, that's a funny word, but that's what's coming to mind. I mean, I had a funny vision earlier where it's like, yeah, okay, there's this and there's this and there's this and what angle, and then it's like, kind of what I put in the email about Thich Nhat Hanh's basically just saying, sit there and smile. Touch life, he said. Most people can't stop long enough to actually touch the aliveness, another word for the radiant presence, because we're too busy running to conceptualize it, running to overlay it with it's that and it means that, and in relationship to it, I do this and da 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 da. I mean, it's constant. Another part of that, what he said was, if we stop and simply touch, meaning touch, bring attention to the natural present aliveness that we can't create but is always there. What arises is wonder, wonderment, miraculousness. Life is seen as a miracle, a miracle. Not just in a moment, but any time that is touched. That everything throughout what we call time everything has led up to this moment of conscious awareness. It is all together. It's all together. What we call you, what we call me, what we call a flower, this water, this cup, the whole, I mean, it's unspeakable. It's inconceivable. It's ineffable. The human mind can't approach it. And yet it can be realized. There's one thing happening, and I am that. Not from the ego's point of view, obviously. If you've got an ego running around claiming to be the almighty, you got a big problem. Really, really big problem, and we all know about that. That waking up to itself as the Mary, the Diana, the Ruth, the Michael, the Sherry, as and everything is essential. Everything. All things. Everything is essential. Like the surface of a balloon, if you remove an electron, non-existence. It's all essential. Every hair on our head, every breath. Presence is it not? Presence is. What if we rested there? What if? It's so naked. It's so pure. It's so simple. It's so basic. The mind wants nothing to do with it. There's nothing to figure out. There's nothing to gain. There's nothing to push away. It's a simple recognition with what's the word? Nuclear consequences. We don't have thoughts. Thoughts occur within present awareness. We don't have, we don't have anything. If any of you have ever been at a death, what we call death, which is, we should call continuation, but we don't. You know, many of us have lost people by the time we're the age that we are now. To the great transition, the great continuation. Even as a 20-something-year-old hospice nurse, it became very clear to me, 26 years old, we don't have anything. What we are is, through all circumstances, all relativity, all changingness, all coming and goingness, all birth, life, death, all labels, all names, all conceptualizations. We just are what we are. Life itself. Life itself. It feels a little bit counterintuitive to rest as that in times like this, right? And I get that. There's a tremendous I don't know what to call it. Pressure almost. I seem to be going back to the hospice days tonight, but I remember that from hospice too. There was a tremendous pressure, especially right towards the very last breath. Do anything, do anything, do something, do anything. It can, to the mind, almost feel like negligence, non-participation. I don't even know what the words would be. I'm sure you guys have some great words for it. To take time to rest as radiant no-thingness, simple, basic, inherent, continuing awareness, radiant presence. But that becomes the way of love, the way of grace, the way. It's the way. It's the great way. What time was it? At retreat, I had been reading this book. I think Sharon said it was a great thing. You know, I mean, I say I'm reading a book. Well, I'm not even going to go into that, but reading is something quite different than, that word means something different than it used to. But there has been some coming together, some communion here with this. And I had a private meeting with the Khenpo who was at the, Sharon teaches these days at a Tibetan monastery in Crestone. And I can't say his name. I wish I could, but I can't. The Lama there was doing private meetings, 6 or 7 minutes long. And I asked him for the transmission of vivid awareness. The Tibetans are real big on transmission. I am too. You know, it's not woo-woo. It's if you pluck a D string on a guitar, every D string at that frequency resonates in the room. That's transmission. It's actually just on the level of not even quantum physics, just regular physics. Resonance of frequencies is real. If you do music, you understand what I'm talking about. Anyway, I asked for that. And then I don't know, I have no idea if it was because of the request. I'm not sure, but he ended up giving us all that transmission, vivid awareness, resting as vivid awareness. He seemed to communicate that it might be very important as we move through these times. I certainly have felt that. and have been talking about it, right? I mean, you guys are probably tired of me talking about it. In this way of resting in true nature. If you don't like that word, I mean, I'm trying to use a bunch of different words for it tonight. The natural state, vivid awareness, present, already, always presence, radiant, no thingness. Let me know what your word is. Resting, as in, don't go anywhere. We explored that in spring retreat. Remember, stop. Stop. Just for one, just even in one instance, become aware of the compulsion, not a personal compulsion that we can then beat ourselves up about, but just a reflex in consciousness to refer to the conceptual overlay. Just in one instance, we step back, we take a break, and we just do nothing, just rest as what we always are. You can feel it in the body as aliveness. That's the beauty. It's the beauty. Some of us might need to say words. Breath is really helpful for some people. Stop, take a breath. Take a step back. I'm trying to throw out a lot of different things because it's not a one size fits all. And you are your best teacher. Ask a question. Where am I coming from right now? My deepest and current understanding of true nature, or a belief overlay that needs to be investigated. Needs to be investigated. Okay, I'm going to read one more thing and then we're going to move on. I think that's enough. You guys know where to find me if you want to talk about it, explore it. From Aja. Meet me here. Join me here now. And now is capitalized. Join me here now, where there are no points of view. Slip under good and bad, right and wrong, worthy and unworthy, sinner and saint. Meet me here, where everything is unframed, before understanding and before not understanding. Meet me here, where silence roars, where stillness is dancing, where the eternal is living and dying. Meet me here, where you are not you, where you are it, and it is unspeakable. Meet me here, where all points of view merge into a single point and then disappear. Meet me here, before there ever was something, before there ever was nothing. Meet me here, where everything speaks of this, where everything has always spoken this, where nothing is ever lost or found. Meet me here. Thank you.